Welcome to the Transform Sales Podcast, where forward-thinking business leaders come to share their experiences and ideas, learn from each other, and amplify their results together.
Hey guys, what's up? Amir Reiter here for the Transform Sales Podcast. We are recording a sales software seller review series, and I got my good friend and CEO and founder of Salesmsg, Chris Brisson. Chris, what's up, man?
What's up? What's up? Good to be here, man.
Yeah, man. I feel like we've known each other for 7 years now. How long has it been?
I think like 6 months, actually, something like that.
It's been 6 months, but I like to make it depends. Time moves a little bit differently for me than it does for others. But no, I have known Chris for quite some time. He doesn't admit that publicly because he doesn't want to associate himself with me, but that's understandable. But Chris, during these podcasts, these review series, we really love to just kind of dive into the sales software you built, why you built it. Obviously show us your screen, show us what it does, and learn more about how you guys differentiate from your competitors so that buyers of sales technology can find more of a transparent source for information. But before we kick that off, love to hear, maybe you can tell everybody a little bit about yourself and how you came to be the founder of Salesmsg. And I always get it wrong, right? Chris sends me multiple different ways of pronouncing the name because I'm dyslexic at times. But yeah. Sales texting, but tell us what brought you here.
Well, first of all, thank you, Amir. I appreciate it. And yes, we haven't known each other for quite some time. So Salesmsg, the quick story is it was birthed from like pure frustration. So there's this other messaging software called CallLoop. I've owned that since 2010. And in 2015, I sort of wrote this 3-part blog series that basically declared I wanted to build something different. And, the software at the time was always breaking. We couldn't really build stuff for the customer. And, people wanted new things. They wanted to do two-way texting. They wanted to do all these different features and functionality. And so CallLoop was just sort of stuck. And so I wrote this whole series, and ultimately the end of it came in, hey, follow my journey as I reinvent the business from the ground up on what I was calling the second chance startup. And so that sort of was this line in the sand of, if I were to start all over and rebuild this company or another company, like what would I actually do without all the baggage? And so started this software called Kick a Conference, did that for a while. And there was an audio conferencing platform. No one wanted it. But during that time, CallLoop was still running and still growing. And I just kept hearing from customers, like, we want to have conversational texting. We want to be able to integrate into, HubSpot. We want to be able to do all these different things. And so that was where sort of Salesmsg was birthed. Actually, like the problem that we originally solved was really the conversational side of SMS. And so, I was using my phone, I was calling people, I was emailing, wasn't getting great responses. But when I could text them, I would get an immediate response. And that was just sort of universal. And so rather than using my own personal cell phone, we built this app to do that. So we sort of hatched the idea in 2017, really rolled it out in 2018. And, today it's, one of the most popular apps on the HubSpot ecosystem. We're just about to launch a Salesforce integration, but essentially what it is, it's an all-in-one messaging and calling platform, really with a focus on SMS. So US and Canada for sales teams, marketing teams, and support teams. So you think like one platform to have two-way texting, send mass text messages, drip sequences, and support your customers.
So awesome. So like you rolled into the second question of like what problems you're fixing, but just recap for anybody listening. So when Chris talked about CallLoop, it's his own company, right? So you talk about so you were able to build a texting company that it did not have the conversational piece, right? And from the birth of one of your own organizations, you were hearing back from buyers that they wanted something different, right? And instead of changing CallLoop, you divorced it, or you had your second marriage. You started your second marriage, right? But it's a company, so this is all legal, right? With Salesmsg, and the reason, if you really dive into what you just said, the problem that you were fixing was that there was no tool for sales teams and marketing teams to do conversational messages, right? And you went ahead and solved that problem by building Salesmsg. And then you partner with HubSpot, because I know I've been at your booth in HubSpot 2019, 2020. I would always take the stickers to the fridge. Yeah. No, and I know you guys have come a huge long way. So really, it's the conversational piece, right? The being able to talk back and forth, and then would you also say that one of the problems you were fixing was that like sales and customer success teams didn't really want to text from their phone? There was no real records of it, and with Salesmsg now, it integrates with the CRM. And there's also an app for it, so people don't necessarily need to give away their personal number, and they can do texting through a professional business number that is owned by the company, so that all the text messages, all that stays with the company, right? Awesome. And now you're one of the fastest growing companies in the space, and you're a leader in the space, which is awesome. Talk to me about what kind of buyers that do you serve, right? And I know that you guys serve anybody who really has a conversational texting need, but for the purpose of the show, I'd want to dive into that 80-20 rule of yours. Do you find that your product is best fit for revenue generating teams, sales, marketing, CX? Like what does that look like? What is the best type of client for you guys?
Yeah. I think like to maybe start that off is the biggest myth. I think people come out there and they think, well, my business is different, right? Why, texting doesn't work. I'm B2B, right? You're probably even thinking that like texting doesn't work for us. Like we're B2B, but we have leads, we have customers, we have clients, we have, partners. And so the way that I sort of like to look at it, and I'll answer your question, which is there's 3 buckets. Like there's a really great book, I've got kids, and one of the books that I read them is called The Missing Piece. It's by Shel Silverstein, and it talks about this idea of this, the missing piece for this sort of Pac-Man going on a journey. But in business, you have like really 3 ways that you're going to engage or contact somebody. There's a million channels, but really the 3 that you're going to lean on, it's going to be calling, it's going to be email, and then sort of this missing piece is really SMS. And so traditionally, there's been tools for all those other things, but SMS has been sort of this other thing that hasn't really been done well. And so we're doing it really well. And so we work with all types of different customers. We work with a lot of franchises. So they're generating a lot of inbound conversations. They're dealing with maybe a mother. And so there's one of our customers, they run gyms. They've got, 500 franchises around the country. And the way that they're engaging with people is not like they're not calling them, they're not emailing them, but they're texting. These are parents, they're busy, they're consumers. And so to get stuff done very quickly, SMS sort of is that channel. We work with SaaS companies. So, one of the faster growing car companies is the SaaS platform, and they're buying and selling cars online. And so they're the Carvana of Canada. And so the way that they're engaging, and they have a 2-sided marketplace. So they have people that are selling their car and they have people that are buying the car. And so they need to engage with people through that entire process. SMS has become sort of that. And so like even for us, how we use it is we generate leads and we call them, we email them, right? And then we augment it with SMS. And like 9 times out of 10, like they're always going to respond to the text. And then immediately we're qualifying them or engaging with them or booking a demo or driving them to, a webinar. We're engaging with those people. We're not engaging with everybody because there's different quality of leads, but that's how like we're moving this sort of speed to lead. And so, in sales, it's like, hey, the faster that we can engage and contact somebody, the quicker we'll get, that sales conversion or sort of that next step. So we work with, over 4,000 customers, and big companies, small companies, and across the gamut from marketing to the conversational side as well. But
that makes a lot of sense. I'm gonna pick some more questions on that, because I kind of almost want you to walk through like a verbal case study of the Carvana of Canada. Before I get into that, though, I think it would be awesome for you to share with the audience just some stats that I think I don't know the exact stats, right? But I know that emails have an average open rate of 20%, let's say, right?
That's good.
Do you know what the average open and read rate on a sales message is, a text message?
Yeah, it's 98%, 99%, right?
Okay.
So, you send a text message to a mobile phone, it's basically 100% deliverability.
Yeah.
And so, the stats are 98% open rate, right? There actually is no open rate. Like there's no way to sort of track an open. We just track deliverability. That's what the carriers
Yep.
provide. But then you have, about within 15 minutes, people read it. And so you have this sort of read rate and people respond. And so
What's the average read rate? Is that something you can share with us?
it's, there is no read receipt. Like,
Yeah.
there's no way to track like whether they open it or whether they read it. But traditionally is 98% open rate. About 86% will open in the first 15 minutes, right? So you have this immediate channel to get a response or to get some sort of call to action. It's interesting. So I do jujitsu. And so I signed up for one gym and then I saw an ad on Facebook and I was like, this is a really good ad. Let me opt in to see their process. And the entire follow-up sequence is all over SMS.
Yeah.
And, I'm engaging with it over SMS and it's just dripping on me and it's automated. And so that's the entire process. So they're just sending text messages. Yeah, they're sending emails, but they're not calling me. I'm not going to pick up anyways. So, the open rates, and we all know that, even our email, like the time it takes for us to craft an email, we got to get graphics, we got to get a subject line, we got to write good copy, we got to like format the whole thing. And so like the time it takes to do that is it's intensive and it takes time. And versus an SMS, I think one of the bigger mistakes people make is they treat texting like email. And so they write this big blob when in reality, it's a tiny little sentence. I call it tiny texts. And so like tiny text just can really move the needle, whether it's to get a response and you get a response.
Jiu-jitsu is for winners. Are you next? Question mark.
What's that?
I said jiu-jitsu is for winners. Are you next? Question mark. That's the text I can imagine coming from the jiu-jitsu. So a lot of people listening too, because I do know Chris for quite some time. I've been a very big advocate of omnichannel sales, omnichannel communication, and it's interesting because some of these stats that Chris has mentioned, I've known about for 7 years, and they've been public. But the world has not really caught on, right? Like for me, I think there's been a big horn being like, hey, sales messages have a 99% delivery rate. They have an 80% open rate. They're very effective, but the business world really hasn't caught on to it, right? So I think a lot of people listening to this, like email is not dead, right? You always hear email's dead, phone dead. No channels are dead, right? So I don't think any of the statements we're making here would imply that anything is dead. It would just apply that this is a very effective channel that B2B companies have a little bit been slower to adopt, right? And some of those reasons your problem solves for, right? They they didn't want employees texting on their personal phone calls. They don't want non-records, right? Couldn't automate it into sequences and workflows, right? Yep. So you're going to share your screen in 2 seconds. We're going to get into that, but I want everybody to hear, anyone listening to this, understand that text message is not going to change your value proposition. It's not going to change your offer, right? But it's a way of getting that value proposition and your offer into someone's eyes so they can take action. Because if only 20% of emails get open, 80% of people might not see your message, right? So I don't want to put my words in your mouth. I know how your product works. I've been using it, but I want people listening to understand that it's also an amplification channel. You could text someone and say, just sent you an email. Let me know what you think. Sent you this, right? So it's also a way of amplifying that message. But the idea here is to make sure that your clients have the opportunity to engage with you in whatever channel they prefer, right? Like Chris is somebody who's not going to answer his phone call, but he'll respond to messages. Some people respond to emails, right? So it's not more of a replacement. It's more of an amplification of my understanding, right? With that being said, any kind of stats you could share about that Carvana of Canada? Did they, what was the before and after, and how long did it take for them? Like, what was the main objective they wanted to get by hiring Sales Message? How long did it take them to get that objective?
Yeah, I mean, look, for them, they're dealing with consumers, and so their ultimate goal and outcome was like speed to engagement. And so, when opposed to the other channels like calling, I'm sure every rep's like, no one's picking up their phone. We need something else.
Yeah.
So like SMS instantly just provided them that response, right? And so, their response rate, we have actually a bunch of case studies on our site. And so, we've got folks that, again, their outcome is, lead engagement or lead qualification. There's a really great example of, customer of ours. He sells, we can get to the demo in a minute, but he sells high-end coaching. And so, he's generating a lot of leads. People are booking on Calendly, and he's showing up to these meetings, and, he's dealing with people that are just not qualified. And so he doesn't have an SDR team or anything like that, but he was just doing these meetings. And so rather than having people book on Calendly, he was using SMS to engage, ask those qualifying questions to then qualify, to then get to the opportunity to have a call. And so that right there, the way that I look at this, we actually have a framework called Textize Your Business. And so you can use.
And by the way, guys, everybody listening, all these frameworks are all going to be added to the content, and they're going to be listed. So I'm going to list all the stuff we're talking about so people can draw back to it after they watch this. But keep going.
Yeah. So, real quick. So we have a framework called Textize Your Business. We have a belief that conversations are good for business. And so the way that we help businesses sort of get more conversations is through this methodology called Textize. SMS can play a part across the whole life cycle. So everything from lead generation to like speed to lead to reducing no-shows for meetings or driving attendance to a webinar to driving a ton of revenue, right, through like mass SMS to getting reviews, getting referrals, right, getting upsells and following client management and those sort of things. So it plays within the whole part. So like I think most people come in like, let me just send a text. And it's like, whoa, man, you're missing, where are all those gaps in your opportunity? What is your show up rate? Are you struggling with that? Send them a text, right? Like we just say, like, just text them and it'll work. So let's dive in here and I will show you sales message.
The only way I communicate with Chris, by the way, is through text.
Yeah. And I don't respond very often.
No, you got better.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe you could share your screen and show us. And by the way, I know that you guys are huge with HubSpot. We could definitely focus on HubSpot. But are there any other platforms that you work with currently, or is it mainly HubSpot?
Yeah, we work with HubSpot, Keep, ActiveCampaign, Pipedrive. We've got Slack, Google integration. So we've got a whole bunch here.
Let's focus on HubSpot for this though, because I use HubSpot. That's great.
Yep. Amir, it's asking me to quit and reopen. So could you give me one quick second, man? I apologize.
Yeah, take your time.
All right.
Yeah, while I'm hanging out here, Chris gets back. I think one of the big things that he was mentioned was that engagement, right? Like if people are not engaging with your emails or your messages, you're not going to get answers. You're going to waste time following up people. And that's what I like about it. But
the high level sales message is your all-in-one messaging and calling platform. So we are best of breed text messaging software. So if you just want to send and receive text messages and you have low volume, you can use your own phone, right? However, if you have a team and you want to sort of add on SMS, build it into workflows, add automation, and really sort of manage it the same way that you would manage like a chatbot or, a tool like that, like we're best of breed SMS. And so the way that you go about doing this is we can provision new numbers. So we can get you a local number, toll-free number, a short code for like mass texting. We can even text enable an existing landline phone. So maybe you have a phone number you've been using forever and you just use it for calling. Well, we can turn on SMS. And so instantly you can start to get conversations and realize, oh my God, people have been trying to text us for like all this time. So, so we have phone numbers. We also have inboxes. And the way that we treat an inbox is you can have a team. So you can have a team manage it. So you can have a collaborative inbox. So for example, this inbox here, we've got this whole team that's here and we can assign a conversation to a team member. We can round robin conversations based on like a round robining process. We can even round robin it based off of the owner or assign it based on like the contact owner in HubSpot or the company owner in HubSpot. And so we give you a lot of these really cool ways that you can sort of assign or distribute. So you can have one number and multiple members. You can have one number and one member, sort of like a sales org, right? Or you can have multiple numbers. So it's very flexible in that sense. And so let's do this. So Amir, what is, well, why don't we do this?
305.
All right, here we go.
If you want to text me. But I actually, I got a text from the sales message team recently, which was awesome. Yeah. Look, this was from you. This is a text from Sales Message, and it got me to engage. I don't know if you could see it, but it actually says, "Hi, Amir, it's John from Sales Message. I hope you enjoyed the long weekend. Real quick reminder: our webinar on the 4th of July 11th is filling up fast, and you don't want to miss out. Register here. Bye for now." So I got your text.
Cool.
I didn't register though, but I got it.
You should. Yeah. So actually, a funny stat on that is, in that SMS there's a link to go and register.
Hey there, buddy. I got it.
What you can do is you can reply RSVP, I believe, and that will register you or provide you a link to go register. I think about like 80% of people replied RSVP to register. So it's like using SMS as a channel to register people for events, webinars, that sort of thing. We can dive into it. So, here it is. It's super simple. So like I added you as a contact, right? I just sent you a text. You could reply back in here. We have saved replies. So, like think of canned responses. So you can add, your canned responses. You can insert search fields. All right. So if I had your information here, all right, I can capture your data. I can insert tokens. So if you're integrated into like HubSpot, I'll show you over here. We can insert like, HubSpot merge fields. So like maybe there's a piece of data you have on there, and we can insert that data. A lot of SMS tools are just like SMS, or maybe they do MMS. A lot of platforms don't. So we allow you to send GIFs, images, vCards, video, docs. You can actually do audio. So it's a super robust messaging platform, not just SMS, but really all types of media, and can easily send that stuff out. We can also do like a short URL. So if you want to send a link over, HubSpot attachments. So like if you want to insert like a link to a meeting, right? We can tap right into your HubSpot account for that. You can schedule SMS. So if you want to do something for later. And so we have all this data over here, and you'll see here, we actually link it over to HubSpot. So if you use HubSpot.
Yeah, that's a big thing I want the viewers to understand, right? Because it to me, it's a platform on its own, right? But it actually, when you have HubSpot, which a lot of people do, right? It's a big ecosystem. It basically plays with everything inside HubSpot, right? Which means that it becomes one with HubSpot. I'm very familiar with workflows, so I'd love for you to show that too. But yeah, keep going. I like Dwight Schrute.
Yeah,
I saw a funny video with Dwight Schrute on Instagram the other day where he was actually sitting next to the plane with someone watching him on TV, and he didn't know it was him. I don't know why I'm bringing that up, but it's because you have Dwight right there. But that was yesterday.
So for those that use HubSpot, I mean, HubSpot is just a microcosm for like any CRM, right? So the same, we're actually just about to roll out our Salesforce integration. And so what our integration with HubSpot does is the same that it does for, let's say, Pipedrive and soon to be Salesforce. So whenever you send and receive a text, I mean, sort of what you mentioned is like, hey, when you sent a text on your personal phone, I don't know what you sent, right? And so now that you can sort of control the platform, you can see all the messages that are sent, received, all the calls that are made or received. You can do calling on sales message as well. And so all that gets logged on your CRM. And even from like a contact record, a deal record, all the different record types from HubSpot, tickets, you can send and receive a text. So like if I'm here in Dwight, I want to go ahead and just shoot off a quick text, I can go in here and I can send him a text message, right? All the data.
This is from all within the platform, right?
Yeah, this is all within HubSpot.
And it goes right to HubSpot right away. So it has all the records.
Yep. And what's cool about it too is like, because we're logging all that data, that all then becomes reportable in reports in HubSpot. And so, hey, how many calls did Bob make? How many texts did he send? How many did he receive? All that sort of data that you can slice and dice and build out, you can do. So again, super simple, send, receive, SMS, you can get alerts, notifications, and then you can build it into workflows. So, hey, somebody filled out a web form, or in this case, a chat bot. And so when they fill it out, we can automate an outbound text message to engage with them. And so, hey, do you have a few minutes, connect to a call right now? So you can totally customize this and, the same way that you would send an email in HubSpot, you can send a text message, right? But the idea here is you have complete sort of oversight. You can provision phone numbers. You can see all the contacts. You can tag them. We have a feature in here called Phone Checker. So, I want to know, like, hey, is this phone number textable? Because you can't text every number. Maybe it's a bad number. And so we'll tell you, hey, is it landline? Is it a mobile number? Is it a VoIP number? Is it an invalid number? And so we do a lot of that data cleanup. So the numbers in your system are clean. Because deliverability is actually a huge thing right now. There's compliance that, it's called 10DLC and toll-free verification. Yep. And the way that the carriers are really treating SMS today is the same way that email providers have been doing for a long time. And so SMS is sort of caught up. So you need to be compliant in order to send and receive text in the US. And so we have I would say we're probably one of the best in the industry for providing a fully compliant platform to allow you to send text messages, to get approval and those sort of things.
Well, that's a big deal for a lot of people listening, right? I think a lot of people know that they know that text messaging is effective because they're receiving it. And I think some buyers might be fearful because of compliance, right? But really what we're hearing is that you've done the research, you paid for the lawyers, you've baked in the compliance, right?
Yeah.
And not only did you bake in the compliance, but in the back end, you're working with third-party companies to actually go a step further to verify numbers or landlines versus mobile versus bad, right? So these are some things that you guys are doing in the back end to ensure high deliverability rate, right, and high open rate, right? To be a good actor in this space, essentially, right?
That's it. Yep.
Yeah. And for me, what I see when I see this, I'll let you keep going in 2 seconds. I come back to what problem you're fixing, right? Of conversational texting. And then I look at what you're seeing and I see that you've included everything that HubSpot will do with emails, with the one-to-many, right? But that same functionality, because in HubSpot, when you do a marketing email, it's separate from a sales email, right?
Yeah.
And they're like two different sections, but this is the same thing. And that's what allows it to be conversational, where it can be fully automated, right? But as soon as somebody responds back, you have the opportunity to automate some canned responses or be personal. And it gives you have the ability to also log into this on the phone, correct, right? So it gives basically a buyer the ability to do one-to-many and one-to-one for the same platform with the same scalability, the same control, and the same compliance, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And so again, we give you all that functionality. So if you do want to send, like what I'm showing right now, is you can do a broadcast, aka like a mass text to a group of people. And so I can send that mass text out. It's an individual SMS that everyone receives on their phone, and then you could reply back. So what I'll do, right, I'm just going to send this to you, and I can choose, hey, you know what, I want to send from, this number. Let's just say I'll send it from, this one that I'm testing. So, hey, we've got a tag, and that tag is going to be Amir, and let's do that. It's going to show that there's one contact. And so I can schedule it for now. I can make it recurring. So maybe like once a week, once a month, right? So you think about from a sales perspective, one of the best text messages, Amir, is like, there's actually a really good story, which is, are you still interested in blank? And so everybody has a list of cold prospects or leads or customers or, folks that at some point they were interested in it. And so you could one-to-one send a text, and the text is like, hey, first name, hey, you still interested in texting for your company, right? Company name. And the response rate on that is wild. There's actually a friend of mine who runs a company called Samcart, which is like a very fast growing e-commerce platform. And, that's the question they ask. And like the response rate's like 80%, 70%. Like it's just sky high. Some people are like, yeah, I'm interested. Some people are like, oh my gosh, it's been on my list. And so it's just a way to engage without like, hi, I'm so-and-so. We do text messaging. And let me tell you, it's like, no. Like, hey, it's Jack. Hey, you still interested in texting? And, it's just a 9-word SMS.
I used, I used sales message for one use case when I was coming back to Miami, and I did a broadcast to, I think, 500 people at the same time, just being like, hey, I've been in town, let's get coffee. And I booked like 30 meetings to that one message, which was awesome. And it's really exciting for me to see that you've continued to improve on the product and continue to just add more functionality, more layers, and even adding, I can see the beta. I don't want to get into that, the branching of the right, but it's essentially it operates. It operates like email, like sequences, like all these things that are here to stay, but it's giving you the same functionality, but for SMS, and it's letting it play together in the same place so that you can do it together, right? So it's not like this separate thing. It's almost like I almost feel like I answered my last question of what differentiates you from other competitors in the space. But before we take off, like what would you say is your biggest differentiator from the other players? Aside from the fact that you have dominance.
We when customers say like, hey, we're really customer centric, I think it's easy to say. It's another thing to actually do it. And so, we have really invested so much in building like the best product, and it's actually getting better. We actually redesigned it. We're rebuilding 2.0 right now. And it's like everything that everyone's been asking for a long time. Like it's going to be a next level platform. So what really sets us apart is, a lot of platforms focus on like, hey, it's just SMS marketing, meaning you can only send mass texts. But when somebody replies, there's no way to respond and it's not integrated. And, all the other things that you just want to do. So for like a sales use case, like, hey, a new lead comes in, I need to round robin it to this rep. And, I need to make sure that it goes logged in HubSpot and, all these sort of nuanced little things that you don't really think about when you come in. It's been solved for the most part in the way that we're building it. And so, all the features, all the functionality, like we want to be that true one messaging platform that you need. You don't need this one for SMS marketing or that one for that, or that for that, or that for that. We'll sort of build it all into one. And so, we believe in like simplicity and like not complex. And so like the less complex you can make your business, one, it's more scalable. And two, like, your employees and your customers really appreciate like the simplicity of, oh, you mean I can just like respond to a text, or I can just send a text and it works, And so, what makes us different is like, we went super deep with HubSpot. We're going super deep with Salesforce to solve all these sort of nuanced pieces. But, whether it is you want to come in and just like engage with somebody and send a text and get responses, like it's super simple. And so, we have an awesome G2 rating, and customers really love us and they love the product. And so we just, we're trying to build the best breed product. It's just going to get better. So.
Yeah, look, I agree with a lot of things you're saying. I think simplicity is huge. For me, one of the things that I liked best about Salesmsg, and I could I've been a customer, so I could talk about it, is the fact that you can operate it from within HubSpot, and it feels like HubSpot, right? And it feels like you're just in HubSpot, right? You go to the workflows, it says sales message, right? You got sales message on the right. It doesn't feel like this third-party thing. It actually feels like it's native to HubSpot. Yeah. That's what I like about it the most, right? I like the fact that it's native to HubSpot. I use HubSpot. I like the fact that it doesn't feel like a third-party company. I like the fact that anytime a teammate might leave to a new job or a position, all the records are there. I can go on with you for a long time, because it's like you could use it as the frontline message, or you can use it even as 10 minutes before the meeting, send a text message, Chris, looking forward to the demo, right? Like
that's the best message.
I use, just for anybody listening to this, I use HubSpot to track podcasts, right? They come with a link, they go on a deal board, right? And I can use sales messages to say 30 minutes before the podcast, remind Chris to have a collar shirt on, have a microphone, right? So it's like you can use this as like your front line or your amplifier, and it's got so many use cases. But the real big deal is that you are making it very easy for clients to add a channel that's been around for a long time that nobody does well, and no one's really doing it, which means it's open. And it has a huge opportunity for companies that have been around for a long time and have collected so much data and phone numbers that they're just not hitting those channels anymore, right? Some of these people don't realize that they use G Suite internally. 10,000 of their contacts use Microsoft. their emails never go through because there's a war going on, right? So it's like a lot of people can reactivate a lot of business. This is awesome. Guys, I'm going to be attaching to this the link to the listing in our marketplace for Salesmsg, along with the case studies and some information. And of course, Chris, if people want to pick your brain, they want to learn from you, they want to add messaging to their weaponry, what's the best way for them to reach out and connect with you?
Yeah, I mean, personally, LinkedIn is pretty good for me. So, if you want to connect with me, send me a LinkedIn message, and don't just, friend request and say, I want to network with you. That's not going to work. But yeah, so send me a LinkedIn message. Also too, I mean, if you want to, try Salesmsg, you can go to salesmsg.com, start a trial, test it out. We've got a money back guarantee. Like, we stand behind the product. If it works for you, amazing. We'd love to turn you into a great case study. If not, no hard feelings there. But I'll leave everybody with this, which is, everything that, I've been sharing, and even just what you just dropped right there, around like sending a message 15 minutes, 30 minutes before the meeting. It's a simple text. Hey, Jack, looking forward to our call in 30 minutes, hope to see you there. One of the best texts that, like, if you're doing meetings or demos or anything that's like scheduled appointment, is, the morning of or an hour before, just send the text like, hey, John, are we still on for today? ? Right? Oh, shoot, that's right. And so that instantly will boost your attendance by like 20, 30%. And so you can see all these little micro things are like, oh, that'll boost 5%, that'll boost 20%, that'll boost that. And so, like, when combined, you sort of like Power Ranger your business, in a sense.
Well, they all increase gross sales, net profit, client retention. I'm like, we can be real. These are ingredients that they're all things that can move the needle forward with automation and efficiency. And they all can be done customer centric, and it makes you look good, right? Like, I think we live in a world where, like, when you work with a company that, sends you a very nice email, gets through, a very nice text message that's written well, you get a sense of comfort, because I think businesses want to do businesses with tech-enabled companies. And I think businesses want to do business with companies that are leading in the digital transformation, right? So I think it's also a way of showing that your company's up with the times, right? Because when I get this stuff, like, I judge a company on its communication to me, if that makes sense. And when I'm professionally communicating on all of your channels, I feel like that company is not on the laggard part of the tech curve, right? It's on the leading part of the tech curve. So we could go on for a while. It's hard when I do these interviews, especially with you, and I've used the product.
20 minutes.
For anybody listening, and I gotta say this is not a good thing, but I once text messaged the head of product for Snapchat, and he got mad that I texted and like called the client, because we used to be an outsourced sales agency, and I like laughed because I was like, in my head, I was like, well, like, I think I had to respond and call back, and it was a good message. Like, he just personally got offended, but for me, I saw it as a win. I was like, man, I could not get a hold of this guy. I was trying to call him for a long time, and it was the text message that got through. He didn't like my offer. Let's put it that way. But it was that's
a whole topic to go around, which is this idea. I think a lot of people are afraid of, like,
it's crazy. Everything goes to your phone.
Yeah.
Instagram, sales message, text message, email, anything goes to your phone. So yeah, when people are like, oh, it's a personal, I'm like, it all goes to your phone, but it all comes down to the value of your offer.
There's a fine line that you want to play there. So.
Value and offer, right? It's all about that. Like, we're not even talking about cold SMS, right? Like, almost our conversation was opted in and not, but like, let's face facts, right? Like, cold is a big deal, and cold is, there's hundreds of companies that do cold. So it's nothing wrong with cold. I'm a big fan of cold, but Chris, this has been great. Everybody, all the links, all the assets can be attached to this. I'll let you go. And Chris, I'm going to do some case studies because I want to get my hands back on Salesmsg. We were restructuring the company, and I stopped using it just because I changed to marketplace. But I think it's time. It's time for me to start texting people again and doing some experiments, customer service experiments.
Everything we talked about, Amir. No, it happened.
Why? No, I didn't. What do you mean?
I'm kidding.
I haven't been texting for like 6 months. I've been doing my business, man.
You're like you're the master texter. We'll get you back up, man.
I know. I appreciate it, man. And thank you for everything. And we'll get back to you soon, man. We'll help the community text. I'm surprised that people haven't caught on, but I guess over those times you just made your product bigger, better, and stronger. So now's a good time to engage with you guys. And thank you again for being on the show.
Yeah, man. Thank you, Amir. Appreciate it,
man.
All right.